Okay, it's 7:04, and we're calling to order the meeting for the Southwick Zoning Board of Appeals. This meeting is hybrid. It's on Zoom and will be recorded on Zoom and also an audio recording. There are no public hearings tonight, but we have some old business to kind of button up and then talk about if there's anything coming up in the future. So we need to review the meeting minutes from April 24th, 2023. So we can do that. Did you read them, Bill?
I did. I'd like to take a moment to make a comment before we open the meeting for the notes. Take a break, is that possible?
Okay.
Okay. Really, this is addressed to you, Mr. Chairman. Mrs. Nelson from our meeting that was on April 24th, and Mr. Smith. There was a comment that was taken out of context at the end of the meeting that has been addressed. So I wanted to publicly make an apology that's recorded, that it was no intent. And language could have been better and will be in the future. So I wanted to offer the apology to you, to the fellow board members, to the applicant, and to the citizens of the town of Southwick. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Bill, for cleaning up that little misunderstanding. I'll just make a statement that these hybrid meetings are difficult to monitor and to manage, because none of us are experts at using the program, and so things like that are occasionally going to happen. We do our best to accommodate people that are not able to make it here. I will say that it's always more helpful to have people here just to review documents.
Especially in our type of more
but that's not always possible. So we will, in the future, we will do our best to make things run a little bit more efficiently. So let's review the minutes. Any comments?
I think I just tried to find the back before. I don't know if Tom he wasn't here to speak for anything for his interaction, but I didn't see anything that was a major point of order that wasn't correct in theory.
Mm-hmm.
I think there might have been words that may not have been used the same, but I can't say in general that the tone or the content is wrong. I think the facts are covered with what that was presented.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. I didn't see anything that was glaringly omitted, and Wendy, you did a great job.
Yeah, you had a lot to capture that night.
Fitting on to a page and a half.
Yeah,
all the conversations and the duplicate conversations that went on. So I did just find a couple kind of typo things in the first paragraph.
Is there notes for Paul? I'm sorry, Paul. Paul Gilbert just joining in, so.
Oh, yeah,
late, but not as in deceased.
I didn't announce the attendance.
Look what you have Ken now, because now Paul's here.
Now you're on time. The attendance is Paul Gregoire, Bill Lisk, Chris Mastriani, and Secretary Wendy Cordero. Mike Parent is not here, and Thomas Stapleton is just not here. So in the first paragraph, looks like the third sentence says the current bylaw restricts common driveways to allow only 2 residences to access the common driveway. I know we went back and forth with that, so that should be only 2 lots in order to match the language that's in the bylaw.
That comes up again then.
A little farther down, the sentence that concludes, the lawsuit was between the original builder and the Conservation Commission, and there was never any approval from the zoning department. I think I should say zoning board. And the very last paragraph, it says, Mr. Mastriani filed, and I think it should be Mr. Mastriani filled.
Yeah,
So nitpicking, but, that's
Yeah.
what,
well,
that's the only
details
thing.
are
There was,
details.
as I said, there are a lot of tangents and a lot of,
Yeah.
things duplicated and repeated, but I think that this, it captures
Yeah.
the essence of what the differences of opinion between the applicants and the board were, and,
Horrible to work with.
and how it was sort of resolved, so I'm happy with, how
Okay,
it's presented here.
any comments? Put a motion to accept meetings from April 24th,
Second.
2023.
We have a motion to accept the meeting minutes, and we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting minutes are accepted with a few minor changes in there.
Noted.
Okay,
Any mail? No.
yeah, I'm not
Ask and you shall receive.
I read that, and I'm not sure what it means, but that's more business for us.
Mail.
That's just announcing that,
It's just the
they're-
Oh, this is the letter that send out to,
Us as in a butter,
right,
just to let you know that they're going for their permits and stuff.
okay. So it's more of a
We're in a
notification
butter
letter.
Because of, because of
From the town-
location, or
the town would
butter
send out.
because we're
I think
involved
the
in the.
board, yeah, I
Okay.
think that's why, because we're an involved party.
Okay, yeah,
Okay.
I saw that's on the agenda for the planning board and,
They wanna add-
and also I don't know, I think the conservation commission is done with that, but I think it's on the planning board agenda for this Wednesday. Along with the, Craig's Tea House and a couple other things.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
okay.
Any-
This board does not own property of hand abutting. So who's it addressed to?
The butters around the applicant address.
Which applicant we're talking about?
Anybody that sends in, they're gonna get a butter letter that says you're an owner next to this parcel that's being talked about. If you wanna come join us.
Associate, because
Yeah.
you have been identified as
Right.
the owner of land abutting another parcel of land for which
Right.
certain activities are proposed.
Yeah. So if something was on Moore Vining next to you, you get this letter that said, hey, Mr. Gregoire, there's a guy.
I
down
have
the
not
street."
received it.
I know you haven't, but they're putting it into play.
Why haven't I received?
Hey, it's new.
Oh.
Yeah, that's what they're doing, the planning board to
I'm
prove
old,
it.
Yeah.
So it goes out with the application, is that what I'm assuming, Wendy, for the butters letters, that this would be included, or this would become the letter.
Well, that's the letter
Right.
to, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the letter to
I'm
us
talking about the
because
self-storage
we're
units.
involved in the
Right.
decision.
This
We're
is
not-
about the self-storage units.
I'm sorry.
Construction of 2 self-storage facility units. Self-storage facility buildings.
Mhm.
So that's the guy down here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
And it is possible that it came in town of Southwick,
mhm,
but because it's a butter, it came to our board, but it could have been meant for like the DPW
DPW.
facility across the street, because
Right.
that would be in that butter.
Oh.
That's who it's
that's what I'm
for.
guessing, it because they're right across the street.
It's not for anybody, it's
Right.
for them.
Yeah.
For that one out there.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I get it.
okay, is there any new business pending?
No.
No new business pending. Okay, and the only other thing that I have to talk about is, a member search for a new, alternate or associate member, I never remember which one it is, but, I
I think
tried.
it's a alternate, they still call
Is it alternate?
Yeah.
Okay. I've been in contact casually with Doug Moglen about what the process is, because I couldn't find exactly anywhere what the process was. And I wanted to make sure that if there wasn't a process, that something was followed that was better than how it was in the past, where
Mhm.
somebody, the select board just deemed it appropriate to appoint someone without any input from us, which they didn't want to see happen again. So I did talk to Doug, and he said that they're working on a procedure, and they were waiting till after the town meeting before they could spend some time on it. So,
With that, Wendy, do you know if the other, like, I had submit if that's been approved by the board for my appointment?
Yeah, I've not heard yet.
Okay,
So I'm hoping to learn what this process is and then follow it. I don't know if it involves me going to a select board meeting
Right.
and telling them formally or a letter
yeah.
or whatever.
Right.
But that's in the works, and if anyone has a suggestion for a potential,
Until Mr. Parent came along, the process has always been, they post it on the board and wherever else,
Mhm.
that there were openings in this board. Please present a letter if you're interested. That Mr. Parent was an exception because the select board was meeting with him at, what the heck is
I
it?
know,
Yeah, okay.
yeah, it was kind of combined. We had an opportunity.
And so then they thought he was a great pick, so they put him in. And that was okay. I mean, you know, select board can do what they want, but there were too many people.
okay. Yeah, when
Well,
I applied, I saw it in the newspaper.
Yeah.
It was published in the
Correct.
Southwick newspaper at
Right.
the time.
Right,
So, it obviously had gone past just because a public announcement on the bulletin board here, and it was in the newspaper, hey, if anybody's interested in this, then apply, and so that's where I learned about it, but.
and then it's similar, and then I actually had a meeting with the select board, like a questionnaire interview.
Okay,
I met in front of them and blah,
And
blah,
you
blah.
passed?
Yeah, I didn't have a Cory check.
so that's.
Yeah, so there's a
in
procedure,
process,
I
so-
think, but it's loose, so
Yeah.
maybe they're trying to more formalize it, to your point, Paul, like it used to be. I think there was a little more formality, but they've got the board downstairs. They've got the grease board that they're putting up now.
Yeah,
I see, they're putting messages around, so they're trying to probably communicate it more, but
Yeah.
I think in general, this came up in the meeting, at the town meeting, because there was a warrant put up to try to change a few things about the select board and term and all that, but the problem is, number one, voting, the turnout was pretty poor,
yeah,
which I had pointed out because I asked
I didn't
what it
know.
was. But secondly, well, I didn't have the question because I couldn't have time, but how many applicants does the select board have right now to appoint to positions? I don't think it's a popular thing. People, a waiting list like this
No.
of applicants jumping on boards because they want to get involved. They're promoting, hey, you get involved, get involved. But I think it's been a constant problem since I've been on the board. There isn't like a laundry list of people who can go check off, oh, you're next in line, you're next in
Yeah,
line.
yeah.
No.
Nobody steps up for that.
right.
It's not as fun as it sounds when you get on this side of the table sometimes. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
other people want you to get, they want to push to get involved, but I'm like, well, what is the pathway? And I think what we're missing, to be honest with you, and I talked to Doug Mogan a little bit, I think, on this, but the select board should go to the schools. We used to have a civics class way back when, and learn about town government and government in general, and juniors and seniors at the high school should be hearing from the town of Southwick select people, what do we do? What do they do? How does the town operate? And maybe you might stir
Yeah.
some interest at the younger level, they're gonna be 18.
Yeah.
They're right to vote, and once they have the right to vote, they can be on a board.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that education we're missing. And it's like sports, there's a gap and it just goes away and nobody fills it.
Yeah.
But I think if we had got involved, even, especially the select board, but I don't know if the permission of school, any board, to go and talk about even what we do. Hey, look, this is what zoning board does for the town, it's pretty critical.
Yeah,
Every other board will tell you we're critical, but you don't always feel that way. But when the planning board can't make a decision because they don't have you know what I mean? So there's a process.
Yeah.
And actually wanted to talk about the process, we got a second about applicants and how we're doing it, but I think there's a good point. I think if the new select board is evolving, they ought to get back to having a visit in school and talk to the junior and senior classes and have a little assembly about what town government operates for the town that they live in.
That would be good,
I
yeah.
don't know, it's just a
Yeah.
suggestion, and kind of didn't
I like
meet
it.
with it didn't meet with a total no. It met with, okay, let's see what we can do, you know what I mean? So that's one suggestion anyway. Good evening. So yeah, so that's what my thought was on that. But I also, we want to close that up, I've got another one about as far as the application process goes.
okay. Good evening.
Good evening.
Anyone want to participate before we, no?
The answer is no.
No,
No.
Okay.
Okay,
thank you, but no.
it's okay.
We were just you kind of walked in the middle, so I'll explain what we were talking about, is that there's there's gonna be an opening on our board for an alternate member. So we were trying to recall what the process was for fulfilling that, and right now, there doesn't seem to be a formal process. It's just,
That was one of the.
when
If it was, it's gotten
when I
Rooted away.
joined 6 or 7 years ago, it was published in the newspaper, hey, that sounds kind of cool, so why don't I apply, so I did
Foolish can you
apply,
be?
and then,
We
I
have
was-
some people now that they say, what's a newspaper?
yeah.
True
so-
that.
A newspaper.
Where do I get one of
Yeah.
those?
But any-
I think my grandparents used to get,
There is a form on the town website
Yeah.
to fill out for
Mhm.
anybody interested in the position. It
Okay,
gets submitted to the secretary, she accumulates them.
Yeah.
When it comes time for appointments, we all go through those.
Okay.
review the
but we have to
qualifications.
publicize, so people know that the opening
It
is
should
there.
be posted somewhere on the town website that there is that opening.
Should be,
Yeah,
yeah, I don't know,
magic word, should be.
but is it something that's directed from the select board to initiate the openings? You know what I mean?
Well, the openings come up depending on whether your term is up or whether someone's stepping away,
Right,
and then
Mm.
whether we,
Have you notified the select board?
yeah.
That's your first step, is notify them.
mm-hmm,
no, I have not, because I was trying to see if there was a process already in place that I could follow before I
No,
just,
but I actually just read that in the MMA Select Board handbook, is that your first step is to notify the
Okay.
Select Board. So you can notify Carl,
okay,
and then I guess.
That was one of the things that came up last year when we did it, because I walked in and here it's, okay, appoint people. I'm like, I have no idea who these people are, and, and being the newbie and not really knowing anything, it's just like, I'm along for the ride.
mm-hmm,
So, but, I've told people that have asked me about openings, submit a letter. When we put out the agenda, it should say something about the appointments.
Right.
My personal philosophy and personal preferences, if you want to be on the board, you need to show up in front of me and tell me.
right,
mhm,
So,
okay,
which I did.
I'm not a
Board
big fan.
vacancies,
I'm sorry.
board vacancies are on the town website.
Yep.
There's the whole, I forget what you call it, but there's the whole listing of all appointments and elected
Mandates.
people with their terms. So
mhm,
you could just sort that. Anybody who's interested in anything can just sort that and see what positions are available
okay.
for their interest.
All right, I guess I just don't see anybody taking the initiative to say, well, let me see what's open. I think they would have to hear that specific things were open in order to say, gee, I'm interested in that, or, oh, I don't really care about finance, but I'm
Well, as Doug said, we're
interested in
always
conservation,
We need more,
We should,
people need more of a knowledge base knowing that there is openings or that you're able to apply.
Mhm,
I circulate all kinds of FYI stuff on all the Facebook forums for Southwick, so I will do that. I
okay.
will put all of those upcoming vacancies.
That would,
I think it's
that would,
a point of order,
and
Chris, we should
drop
have been
people to the
introduced because they're
website where
talking,
you
so.
can have
Well, that's where the
applications.
website, and not to refer to Westfield, but Westfield, they had that
Did Tom
front page
introduce
updates
it?
just about if there's an update, they put it on that front page. and you can click on it.
Glad I walked in, I'll do that.
can you just state your name and address, just for,
Jason Perone, 1 Noble Ski Crossing.
Diane Gale, 5 Point Grove Road.
okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, yeah, I think, like I said, it's, the terms are officially up at the end of June, so I know that there's always a little bit of delay and gap in that, so
It doesn't give
I'm
you
just
much time either.
trying to make sure that there's not a hole in the process if we're able to get some people interested and say, hey, this is gonna be available on
There's still
July
a few
1st.
holes in the process.
Oh, I'm sure there are, but if we can start to plug the holes and get some people interested in, and then start talking to them and see what areas they're interested in, I think would help things out.
I
So,
was
thank you.
mentioning to Chris, the chairman too, is years ago, at a civics class in high school, and learned about government,
What year did you graduate?
a long time ago.
I think you were 87, 88?
Yeah,
I was 89, so.
So, they've gotten away from that, obviously. But I think I talked to either Mr. Mogul, I think it was in a group meeting, Doug and I were talking about stuff, but I said, select board members used to show up at the school and address the junior, senior class, because that's the class that's coming out of,
That's, I was under the assumption.
You
they
know,
were supposed-
and talk
I
about-
didn't last year because I was
Right.
so new and nobody said anything, but you're right, the mayor in West.
yeah, I mean,
he shows up.
just talk about the kids, like, hey, this is the 18-year-olds are gonna be voting coming through, and they could be eligible for boards, but to getting how the government works in your town.
Yeah.
What is it made of? How does it work? What do we do? Why is there a select board? What is their function, et cetera?
Yeah.
I just,
So-
we used to have that years ago. I used to have I remember a safety officer come in talking about different stuff too, and that's kind of, now we have safety resource officers, but, it's a different theme, unfortunately.
Yeah, right.
Unfortunately, but, anyway, I think getting back to the grassroots system of that could not hurt. Especially as trying to get, voter turnout came up. I mean, it's absolutely appalling sometimes when you look at the turnout in a town like this. Everybody wants to be involved until you're asked.
There was, well, you
You know,
spoke at the town
yeah.
meeting, and I was pleasantly surprised with the amount of people I saw out there, because last year when
Right.
I'm like looking, and
COVID was tough. I think a lot of people stayed, but they had it out back, outside. It was probably the best you could set up. They were 6 foot apart, and, there was plenty of room,
It's like a concert, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, I guess. But yeah, I think, and I don't know how many applicants are sitting on file for different board, or people that are interested in general. But I think that's always been an issue.
Coming up for it, and numerous people have said, I'd be interested in doing something like that, and I'm like, you need to put in a letter now.
Please, I mean,
What are you interested in? Look at the boards, and whether there's a vacancy or not, put in for it.
Jason, have you ever coached?
I coached the JV baseball team by,
Okay, so there's all the parents on the side know everything more than you do,
oh, yeah.
until you ask for help, and then, well, no, I'm too busy for that, I can't,
People that know way more than I do, they'll tell me.
So, but that's usually where the line stops, is like, get involved, come on this side of the table. We welcome, it's not always as easy and pretty as it seems, and everybody has an argument, let's see how the process goes, because it actually gets vetted out pretty well on a lot of boards, I think. But education, I think, is huge, and I think we're missing a lot of that with the youth especially, but even people that come into town and it's ignorance. I'm not saying it's wrong, but it's just ignorant of how the town works.
I'll be the first one to admit, I came into town during COVID, right before COVID, so I wasn't even familiar of the structured town government we had
Right.
until I started really listening to Carvana and all other stuff and researching it.
Mhm.
And then when I pulled my papers last year and they're like, oh, okay, cool, so November, right? And they're like, no, you gotta get these in like 4 weeks.
Right,
And election's in May. I'm like,
yes, interest, yeah.
okay.
And the bums rush. Anyway, okay.
All right, thanks for your input on that.
Yeah, I definitely, you guys, that's something I know Diane and I have talked about, we gotta be careful what we talk about now. Prior to, getting on, as that, the boards need to be, and Doug says it everywhere, he always is, he's like, come out, we need people, we
Yeah.
need people. And I think that needs to be like I said, our website sucks, it just sucks. It should be more interactive, there's better websites out there, I know the plan is to upgrade, but we need to upgrade now.
Right.
Take the money, spend the extra money on the click box or anything else that we need, and make that page much more interactive.
But I'll point them right to it, so I'll help.
Yes, I know you will.
Yeah, there was online form you can hit when it submits and goes right into where it needs to be. That would be good too, right? So, anyway, we move on, or,
Yeah, we want we have another.
I got another topic, but go ahead, Paul.
I just wanna make one comment on 79
Or change.
Morton Viney.
Okay,
The last meeting, I went home, my wife says, what was the meeting about? So I told her, she says, that's not a driveway, that's a road. I said, what do you mean? Well, any other development, there are lots on this side and that side, it's a road.
yeah, but there was some mention of that where it didn't qualify as a subdivision in some of the inch of paperwork. that I
Because of
read.
all the bull crap that went on, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, why can't they try for a road?
oh,
Right, agree?
You may wanna suggest that to them, I don't
Sure.
know. Just a comment,
okay,
anyway.
So, the other thing I wanted to bring to the table, just on the zoning variance request paperwork that is filled out now. We've made some changes, and over the years, we've tried to bring the horse to water as much as possible. And I know a lot of times we will do corrections because they'll take variances, what they need, not what they have left over and things. But as they go through, I think they get the application. There is a flow chart of how actually things go through the town.
Mhm.
But what I think they're missing, and it comes up every meeting, is what is the hardship? What is, I mean, there's a good definition, right, from the master and laws of
Well,
what,
I think on here, it says that
Right,
that must include something,
in your plan,
yeah.
but I don't see where,
I think in the instructions it mentions,
right, but I'm saying if we here's what you need to build to satisfy for a hardship, that they get a copy of what they mean.
oh,
Because I just think it's sort of like, it defines it pretty well. And this is what we're judging these things on every time they come,
This
you
is
know?
from the state?
Yes, yep, that's right off the state's website. And that's usually where we have to revert back to,
Yeah.
you know? And I said, well, if they're gonna make a plan, what they want, they know that, okay, again, financial doesn't always mean you can't make money, that's the difference, there's a difference with that, right? To be able to develop and sell, it's different than actually maybe to work it, or have something on there, but you know, it gets into the public good, of course, and then the intent, or with the soil, and so, I mean, it follows into the things that we really get into the nitty gritty, but they're not prepared, most of them, that's why I think if they had some of this, like, okay, this is what I wanna do this for, and here's why I need to do it, here's my hardship. Because that's defined like the multiple thing we need to define before we can really grant a variance is what is the actual hardship that's gonna make us have to say, you can do this now because you really couldn't by the bylaw. You know, everybody wants to, that's the easy part. I get it, I bought it, so I wanna do it now. But where does that really lie? Where's the hardship, you know? And you bought a piece of property that has some serious issues, so how are we gonna try to work to figure it out, you know? And I think we do, I mean, most of the time we come out to an agreement that is reasonable, and you trade off, it's like a negotiation at some point. But, anyway, there's a packet, but I wonder, you know, what actually is given, and I think sometimes it's not all given.
do you think putting in the instructions, a reference to where that is?
You could do the map, you could do the link,
Yeah,
sure. I mean, it's pretty simple, it's a Mass General Laws link, and it
Or
has for
attach
hardship,
it.
for zoning, for, you know, bylaw, or zoning variance.
As you said.
But if you attach it, at least you can read it,
Go ahead.
it's right here, you know, you could have the header say what it is, a Mass General Law, printer it out with that, the state seal on it too, you know, so it's not coming actually from Southwick, it's coming from the state, this is what they require, and this is what we're following, you know? But anyway, it's a thought, it's food for thought,
Okay.
as we try to better the process, and to me, I think it's gotten better the last few years, that
Yeah.
people actually say, okay, here's my drawing, here's my, hey, we have to make corrections, whoops, you need a variance, this is what you actually need, not what you want, you know, that kind of thing. So it's just a thought,
okay,
but something we can table, you know, I just wanted to kind of get thinking about it, and then we can have another meeting on it to kind of put into play, we wanna have action. Okay,
okay.
that's all I had.
Okay, that's all I had, so, anybody wanna make a motion to adjourn? And if folks have anything else they wanna say? No?
Okay, I'll make a motion to
We have a
adjourn.
motion to adjourn, and do I have a second?
Second,
I have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
aye,
Aye, thank you very much.
going for dinner.